Guys, welcome to another episode of Horror at the Store. I'm your host, Katie Hettenbach. Nailed it again. Let's go. We're talking Terrifier, all things Terrifier and horror movies today with Catherine Corcoran.
2 for 2 on both counts. I'm blown away.
It's only for you.
I don't have a speech issue, and I still stutter all the time. So honestly, very impressed. Very impressed.
Thank you so much. I hide it very well. That's
society has made you hide it. That's stupid. I think run with it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It gives me character, just like your character. Which also, I just want to start this off by, so I watched Terrifier for the first time in 2016 with my brother. We just randomly saw it on Tubi, which I love Tubi. And we had no idea what it was about. We just watched it. Saw someone, get sawed in half by their vagina. And I was like, I don't know, whatever. And then I was like, oh my God, I have to rewatch these. So I hadn't watched the film. Last night was my first time watching it since it came out.
Oh, I thought you in the moment were like, I must watch this again. I was actually very concerned for you. But
no,
okay, in prep.
No, yeah, I was like, I have to watch it again because I haven't seen it. I did not, when you popped up on screen, I was like, oh, that's her. I'm like, who's the one who gets sawed? And I was like, oh my God, that's you. You're the famous saw in half. That's you. I was like, oh my God, that's Catherine.
It's funny. I did an interview with Kevin Smith, and he asked, about the recognition factor. And I was like, it doesn't, it now as it's been a slow build. It would happen from time to time. It was already kind of happening for other very crazy films that I had done. But as Terrifier has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over the past couple years, it's become more common. And the other day, I was doing a talk where I met you at LA Comic-Con, and it was a panel about women, and it was a really empowering thing about women in film.
Also, I just want to throw out, you were the most eloquent and even in talking to you now and in general, you speak so eloquently and are so knowledgeable.
Oh,
and
thanme while I'm talking about
literally no, just murder, but you're diversity and you bring in all this stuff, and I was like, I never thought of it that way. So you brought me a lot of good points.
Oh, thanks.
I don't remember them, but you made good points.
Me neither, because I black out every time I do those. I have no idea from the time I sit into those chairs, the time it ends, what is happening, and I hope that I'm making sentences. I really have no idea. I could be sitting there going, and people tell me it's brilliant, so I'm like, great, because I have no idea what just came out of my mouth. I hope it sounded like a smart thing someone says about things.
Me every time I'm on this podcast. It's my own podcast, and I am like, was any of that English? Was that words? Was that just sounds? Did I even say anything? Because you know how sometimes you talk to yourself. Do you talk to yourself?
All the time.
But then you're in a room with people, and then you're like, wait, did I say that out loud, or was that in my head?
Do you know when you're walking down the street and you're talking to yourself, or you're rehearsing? Do you do this, or am I just this level of crazy where I'm rehearsing the things I want to say to somebody that I'll never say because I'm pissed off? Yep. I'm in my head and that's just some bullshit or whatever. And then someone walking down the street turns and makes eye contact with me because they definitely just saw me talking to myself and watched me having a schizophrenic fit, and now I have to pretend I have AirPods in and I'm actually talking to someone or something, or pretend that didn't happen, and we both just look at each other knowing very well that did just happen.
I can't say I've had that exact experience, but I get what you're saying.
I can't say I'm that crazy. However,
I get, but also you're not gonna get fucked with, because I usually will talk to myself if I'm walking to my car and it's late at night. I'll be like da, 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 and do something stupid so that I will not that I'm gonna get mugged on the way to my car. Maybe I don't know.
So it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah, because then they think you're crazy, and then they don't want to go around. Yeah, or you don't walk in a straight line, and then you do weird things.
Or early in my career, I was working in bars. I was in college, and I was working in bars, and I would have to close sometimes late at night, and I was very young, and I learned this trick from another bartender, and the speech that we came up with, and I can't tell you like exactly like what started it, like who came up with what or whatever, but like it became like a thing where we would say, well, we would go into the civilization speech, we called it. And so like it came to a peak where like I had a woman, and again, it's like falling into crazy. She was not allowed back in the bar because the night before she tried to piss in the sink and the sink fell off. Very like
been there, so, like, been there, am I right, ladies? Crazy nights.
So, and I knew this story, so I'm working, and I was there, and like I knew what she looked like. I knew who the woman was. The next day, I'm working like a normal like day shift, and she comes in and she goes, and she like wants a drink, and I was like, ma'am, I can't serve you.
Yeah.
And she like gets all mad. She's like throwing a fit, like acting all crazy. And I was like, I was tired that day. And this is where my crazy matched her crazy, and the talking to myself for years angrily like really hit a wall. So she said, she comes up and she goes like, well, why can't you serve me? And I was like, ma'am, I this is not the day. I cannot serve you. You do not want to mess with me today. You need to leave. And she was like, what are you going to do? Hit me? And I don't know like what snapped, but I was like, we could entertain that. We could entertain that I will hit you. And like, and I don't know, like, what came over me? And I was like,
I'm not gonna, but we're gonna entertain you.
Yeah, but I was like, but here's the thing. And I like went into the thing, like civilization is based on a very fragile set of rules. Very fragile. This is like what we would do. This was the crazy speech. If you said civilization, like people would be like, well, why can't you do that? And you'd be like, civilization is based on a very fragile set of rules. And like, and people would just be like, oh, that's a crazy thing to say and walk away. So I said, civilization is based on a very fragile set of rules. You have broken the rules. You are a rule breaker. She pissed in the sink. That's a rule. You don't do that.
Yeah, you don't do that.
And I was like, so we could entertain that now as a result. I don't know. I said like, what is the opposite of civilization? And she looked at me and I was like, anarchy. And in an anarchist society, we can rape and pillage and steal and all mayhem breaks loose. So we can entertain that now. We are in an anarchist society
because you pissed in a sink,
and I am going to hit you. But when civilization resumes, I will then have to suffer the consequences of breaking the rules, my actions. And here's what you need to keep in mind. I don't know like what came over me. I was like, prison would likely extend my lifetime. I am not in very good physical shape and I do not read enough. And like,
those are the two things. Being in shape and reading. I can't read at all, so it's really hard. So when I'm in prison, I can learn how to read and become stronger mentally and physically.
I don't know what I thought I was going to do like in this hypothetical situation, that I was going to get out of prison and then be like a genius with superpowers and so buff that I could then, I don't know, hit her again. Like what I thought was going to happen.
You're going to go back to prison?
Yeah, but it was like that moment and like all my angry talking to myself
just really
like came out, and she just left. It worked, and I never saw that woman again.
Honestly, that's probably she's probably scared of you, and is like, does she still work here?
Yeah, so like should I? But also
she came back as soon as like the day you left.
Yeah, but also like the balls on that woman for coming back after breaking the sink because she peed in it, like sat on it. Like, I wish I had that level of like confidence in myself.
Good for her. You know what? Good for her. Live your life. But also there are a set of rules.
There's a set of rules. So my point being, to bring it back, when you're walking to your car, you don't have like, and you're talking to yourself and someone comes over and talks to you, just like go into the civilization speech and they'll walk away. And all you have to say to them is, they'll be like, can I borrow $10? No. Why? Civilization is based on, and they're just like, crazy person. And what will come out when you say that? You don't.
Yeah. The, again, with the, going back to Terrifier. Going back to that's okay. No, but this also relates to Terrifier. Okay. When you first see Art the Clown, and you go, "Hey, my friend thinks you're hot." Like the balls on your character to just be like, "There's a creepy clown over there. Let me just fuck around with it."
Yeah, I do like that about her. You know, like she gives no fucks. Like she exists in that heightened state of sink pissing that I really do. And I think like her line, that's like the similar to like the the my Bloody Valentine line that we talked about, where she says, and she doesn't say over the pants hand job, but she does come out of the bathroom and go, "That was the greatest piss I've ever taken." And in that moment, you relate to her on so many levels.
You're like, because we've all had those pees where you're like, you know what, that was a satisfying pee.
Yeah. And I admire her for her ability to just share that with the world.
Yeah. So how did you find the script? Who gave it to you? How was the audition process?
I had done other horror films and I was working as an actor prior to that. Funnily enough, I was like kind of a child actor. So I was doing like, when I was really little, I did like Broadway tours and things like that. And then they had me trying for the Disney things that like never really landed. Yeah. But I was working and I was doing the typical thing. And I had done this film right before that was a trauma movie, which makes these like horror satire comedies. And I always say they're like stupid movies for smart people because they're actually hilarious, and like super gross, and especially like the films that Lloyd does really straddle that amazing like brilliant line in comedy where you're like making these jokes and you're like showing really ridiculous things, but it's like it's criticizing something. So a lot of times he's does like environmental things. His big thing is The Toxic Avenger, and that film somehow premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, which is like
cool.
Yeah, which was like wild, and I was like 18 when I booked it, 19 at the time when it was there. And so because of that, when it came back, it featured a lesbian relationship prior to gay marriage being legal in the United States, and only 3 days into it being legal in France. So we did like a whole guerrilla street thing to get people to see the movie. We did like a wedding ceremony. It was a long story. We were named the first lesbian wedding in France. So it got all this attention. Yeah. When we got back to the United States, it was being shown in MoMA with like Wolf of Wall Street and Blue Jasmine. That's and wild. Like Blue is the Warmest Color as like one of the best and most influential films of the year. Yeah. And it was like this weird horror comedy. And so like after that, my child agents really didn't want to work with me anymore.
That's fair.
Which was fair. But I was like in between reps, and I was getting all of these like horror offers because trauma really straddles that line. Yeah. And so I wasn't like opposed to like stuff coming in, and I think I saw the breakdown for this, and I was already auditioning for a bunch of horror stuff anyway, that I just went and was like, why not? Like, whatever, slasher movie, you know, I could use some employment. That would be cool. So I went, and I remember going into the room, and, you know, typically when you go into an audition room, they have like, you know, especially on the low budget stuff, you have more people in the room. Usually it's just a casting director and a reader, and at the first round. And I went in, and everybody was in the room the first time, and they had the reader there, and I did the scene, the where she sits on the clown's lap and like moves his face around. That was the audition scene. And again, I didn't see the whole script yet. Yeah. Like that was just the audition scene. And I asked if I could move the reader around, like do it the way I would in the film. Yeah. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Always ask, you know, consent, very important. But so like I do the whole thing. I'm sitting on the guy's lap, like the same way I do in the movie, moving his face. It's just kind of a large, middle-aged man from Staten Island, kind of talks like this a little bit, you know. And come to find out that that's the executive producer, Phil. Good. Okay. So I am just on his lap, moving his face around, and everybody in the audition is like dying laughing, and I'm like, I must really be killing it. Little do I know that they find it hilarious that the guy with the money, I'm literally like moving. So they're all really excited, and like I remember afterwards, like when I got the part, you know, Damien sent me the script. I'd found a new manager at the time, and they were like, absolutely fucking not, no way, you're not doing this, like, because you also have to remember, like, you know, you read it in the script, and like there's this like trajectory that like could happen in the ideal world. Like you have this film at Cannes, and like you could keep doing this, like, you know, push on these like powerful films and hope that they keep getting festival recognition. And that's not to say that I haven't done films that have done that, but like you also just want to be employed, you know? So like we did, so I don't know. I also, I think at the time had booked this film with like Naomi Watts and Elizabeth Moss and Liev Schreiber. That was like a boxing biopic.
Awesome.
It was like this like 70s like huge film that was coming out, and it would conflict with the shoot dates for Terrifier. And so of course like my manager was like, fuck this clown movie. Like,
but I want to do the clown movie.
No, and so
I
think I just wanted to work, like, really honestly and truly. Like, everyone talks about, like, oh, did you always want to work in horror films? And, like, they say that to actors all the time. And it's like, yes, I love horror movies, but I really love employment more.
That's, at this point, it's like, I don't care. Like, I'm also that way with, like, because I'm also an actor.
Yeah.
I'm like, any gig is a gig right now. Yeah. You know, I'm at the point in my career when I need the money and need the gig, unfortunately. But, you know, eventually down the line in my career, hopefully I can be like, you know what? I would like to focus more on these types of roles.
I mean, I'm definitely a little bit more discerning now for sure. Yeah. But like, what if someone came to me, and it does happen where I get these offers for like these crazy sequences all over again. And I don't feel that I need to do those projects or do those. But like, when you're early in your career, like, you have to remember this film was, I don't know, I was like 22, 23, maybe when I shot that film. Like, I think people just like, you know, you just, I love movies, but I really love being able to pay my bills also. So that was like really what it kind of came down to. And Damien, like, when I read it, I honestly didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. Like, people were like, did you read it? And you were like, this is going to blow people's minds. Like, no, I didn't think anyone was going to give a shit. It was just a weird clown movie. I thought we were just going to do it. And like,
and then if something happens, cool. If it doesn't, I made a clown movie and have
I mean, like,
move on to the next project.
We joke about this stuff all the time, but like, they were making it for $30,000 in like Trenton, New Jersey at night. It was like, there were sometimes we were doing things where we're like, you know, I'm upside down nude. I think that was actually on Staten Island, but like, I'm upside down nude. Dave, who plays the clown, is like wearing some woman's like fake flesh.
Yes.
Doing a full penis tuck. Like, there's like all this weird stuff going on. It wasn't like, it's a completely different experience for the actors who worked on the second film, because when it was already on Netflix, it was already this big thing. We were already getting asked to do the conventions and the signings and the talks. So they knew what they were stepping into, and they knew it was going to be crazy, and they knew it was going to be like, you know, they wanted to do it for that reason. I'm telling you, like, there were times where Jenna Cannell, who's also in that film, would just look at each other and be like, what are we doing?
How did we get here?
How did we do this?
What happened?
Yeah.
You see, society, civilization
based on a very fragile set of rules. Yeah.
And we broke all of them.
One of the things I constantly tell people, because I know a lot of actresses who took roles that you look at their film and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to regret this in a few years. Jennifer Aniston said yes to a Leprechaun movie.
And it was Leprechaun 2, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like
the sequel to Leprechaun. Like, after they had something to base it off of.
No, she was in the first movie too.
She was in the first
Is she?
one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But just the idea of like, this is a clown. Clowns can be scary. Like, for me, a clown movie is less of a concern for my career than a Leprechaun
That's
movie.
so true. I think, and I mean, like, it is, but like the things I've done, like, I'm telling you, like, I like feel like I've run the gamut where like I've performed like Shakespeare on stage, or like you know, stuff like the Glass Menagerie, but then I've also literally vomited green goo onto someone in a trauma movie. And like, just like I don't think people, I think that's the biggest misconception, that it's all very calculated. It is not. People want to work, period.
Yeah, so what you're hearing is she's a diverse actress and can do anything. The range
of what I'm capable of.
Shakespeare and vomiting green goo. She's your girl. She's your girl. So out of both movies, or the first movie, because I'm assuming you've seen Terrifier 2.
I actually haven't. I've seen a lot of it because when they were filming it on the road, when we were doing, so Terrifier was already becoming this like thing. Yeah. And we were getting asked to do all the conventions and the signings and the things like that. And I actually those made me really uncomfortable for a while, and I shied away from them. But when I finally, it was like getting to a point where it was like we have to do something about this. It's just getting ridiculous. I would tell people would message me, and I would tell them, just send a self-addressed envelope with what you want signed to my manager's office, and we'll take care of it for you. And they were like, no, stop doing that, because it was getting too. It was just like excessive.
Yeah.
Then it gets to the point where you're like messaging people and you have to like set that boundary. It's like, no, can't. We're not really like, I don't know you, things like that. So like it was that was already happening. So we finally started doing the conventions, and I remember I was at one. We're backstage to go on and do this big panel. Mm-hmm. It was super cool. They did this whole, like, they have us coming out to this like awesome metal music. They did a whole montage of all of us. It was like really, really cool. And we're getting ready to go out, and we're backstage, and Damien is showing me clips from the second movie and like the different death sequences. It's not colored or anything. Yeah. So I've seen quite a bit of this movie prior to it being in theaters. And then no one thought that it was gonna have the run that it did, where like the second film, we were like, oh cool, the second one gets a theatrical, super exciting. And I know like technically I'm in the second one, but like
I saw that and I was like, where is she? I'm like, where I don't.
They do a flash. I don't know how that happened. They did a flashback to like photos, and like when he's like, I guess the character is like looking through like piecing together like what happens. They show Jenna and I. Okay. And so I guess that's how that happened. But I was like, what are you... I could always tell critics who didn't actually watch the movie, because they would be like, and it stars. Like Jenna and I have done other things since, and it stars, and they would say Jenna and I, and we're like, it doesn't. That's a lie.
We're not.
You didn't watch the movie. Like, that's a lie. But so I've seen quite a bit of it, and like, I don't know where we're going with this, but I felt when the first weekend happened, we were like, cool, like it gets a theatrical. They weren't marketing it. There was no promotion of this movie at all. And but because there was such this fan base from the first, it did I think it was like 2 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
On like a very limited theater run, and they just kept adding more theaters. So like I wasn't available that weekend, and I just thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to see it. Yeah. Because it just kept going. Like I just didn't plan around it. And now it's gotten to a point where it's like, I would like to see it, but I don't want to like just sit at home and watch it. Like I would love, and I don't know what's happened with the rights, because 2 different companies for a while owned the rights to the first and the second. Mm-hmm. They're now talking about doing double features. So I feel like now that it's been a minute and I haven't seen the whole thing, I'd like to like see them back to back. But yeah, so I've seen a lot of it, and I saw the last, like, I know how it ends because I've seen the last like 15, 20 minutes because we did a talk and I was getting zoomed in so I could see it playing before. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. It is helpful. I feel like, because I watched Terrifier 2 when we reviewed it. We have a 31 Days of Horror.
Oh, awesome.
Where we watch a horror movie a day and review it. And we watched Terrifier 2, but I hadn't watched Terrifier since 2016. So I was like, well, what is this beginning segment? And which is about, and it also happens in the end of Terrifier. So it was like,
what are they cutting to? Yeah.
I was like, where are we? So it took me a second to like get into it. But then when watching them last night back to back, I was like, oh, here's where they connect. Got it. Everything started clicking. And I'm like, okay, this makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Apparently Damien, and I cannot even begin to like go into his brain and tell you like what goes on. Yeah. There, but like,
I'm both scared and very interested in what's going on in there.
But apparently he's had this
beautiful.
Like,
it's beautiful.
Apparently he's had this planned like from the beginning.
Of course he has.
So like, I mean, like all of this, I think one thing that I do wonder, and I ask this a lot. So like Samantha Scafidi, who's her character I think is called Vicky in the first film. She, she makes a real resurgence. She doesn't have a face anymore, but in the second film. Yeah. And like spoilers for anyone listening, but like my question to everyone is she really the final girl of the Terrifier franchise? Because she's gone through 2. Is it because her vagina is ripped open and she doesn't have a face that she doesn't count anymore? And if so, that is some bullshit.
Yeah, because your vagina was literally ripped in half.
Yeah, but like they talk about like final girls, you know what I mean? And I'm like, so does one have to have a healed vagina and a perfect face to be a final girl? Because I call bullshit. I call bullshit on that.
I like that. I that final scene in Terrifier 2 really, I mean, It's
like in the credits, you know?
It's like 2 minutes into the credits and then it starts rolling.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was like, what's going on? And at that point I was like, okay, anything's possible. Art's not real. He's got supernatural powers and everybody's dying. And I'm here for it. Let's murder everybody in the most creative or gruesome way possible. Like there's some great in the second movie, like even in the first movie, like with the pizza shop Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
That was pretty gnarly. But then they do something similar to that in, I won't say what it is because you haven't seen it, but there's something similar to that in Terrifier 2. And I'm like, huh.
I like that he does these little harken backs. Like I did see the little girl, the Halloween costume where they're dressed up. Little girl dressed up as a scarecrow. Oh, that was cute.
The scarecrow.
They do like a lot of little things like that to like harken back, which is really cool.
I saw that and I was like, aw, look at that.
Yeah, no, I hope she fares better. She is a child.
That would hopefully we would hope that would be better.
You know what's funny though is that like at the conventions, like signings, like. Sometimes like grown men will come up and they'll be like, can you sit on my lap? And I'm like, I don't do that. Bro. I don't do that.
No,
but
thank you.
Small child comes dressed as you know, one of the characters. Whatever you want, kid. And it's so fucked up. And I don't know what that says about me. Like a little kid came over and I'm always concerned for them. I'm always very concerned for why they've seen these movies and how they psychologically are coping. However, they come over, like, so like one kid came over, he had candy for all of us, clown mask, and he asked me for a picture and he said, could you do it like you do in the movie, like on like his lap and move his face? And I was like, absolutely, child. So like, and then I thought about it afterwards. I was like, what does that say about me? That like
you sat on a child's lap?
Yes, and I refuse to sit on the ground. I'm like, you perv, I will not sit on your gross.
Oh, here's a little child. I'm going to sit on your lap.
I was like, oh my God. Like, am I like
you know what? Your heart's in the right place. Your heart's in the right place.
I was like, ethically, it was very, very conflicted. I was like, did I just do something wrong? I think this is so cute, but also, what is happening?
Yeah, but also they're already probably pretty fucked up because they watched this movie. I went to Creep Icon and we the kids dressed up as Art the Clown, like they'd come up to me with a little horn.
Adorable.
And I'm like, that's cute, but like, who's letting their kids watch this?
Adorable, but like, how are you in therapy yet? Like,
you're gonna be. Are you okay? Blink twice.
There was one little girl who came up to me once. And she comes over, she's very, very serious. Comes right up to the table, puts her hand on the table, puts her, chin on her hand, and looks at me like really suspiciously, and she goes, "You got sawed in half." And I was like,
You're like, that's correct.
And as I said, I was like, I did. You're right about that. And she said, "How are you here?" Like she was like really suspicious of me, the fact that I exist still. She was like, what did you do like to make it here?
You're like, civilization has a few set of rules.
Yeah, exactly.
And I broke all of them.
I was like, I always tell her, I was like, with kids, you're like, it's not real,
Yeah.
But like when people make that joke, I'm like, modern medicine, man. Like
modern medicine. Yeah. You just start
miracles,
like, every person
miracles. I've just healed in ways that have only made me better.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
I am Velcroed together. That's where I'm wearing a turtleneck. And
I really needed my insurance to cover this plastic surgery I was looking for.
Yeah.
And well, what do you know?
It happened to cover.
Leone just popped right in.
Happened to just cover everything. It was helpful. So, really quick, what do you think is going on in Art's head, his mind? What kind of trauma do you think he's had? Because the more I'm watching these, the more I'm like, he needs a backstory. What happened to him?
It's funny. So when I signed on to do the film, Damien wanted to get coffee and talk through the film and the scene, and being the like weird like art performance art nerd that I was like, yeah, man, like what's the backstory? What's the metaphor? What's this? What's that? And he said to me, and I don't know if he just likes to fuck with me or like what it is, but he was like, what do you think it is? And I was like, I'm asking you.
You're like, you're the filmmaker.
You wrote it.
He's
like,
no, tell
I think
me.
he likes you to like to not know. And I think that's part of,
I want to know.
I think that's part of like, but that's kind of the thing about these things, like, right? Is like they're all metaphors for like what you're projecting onto it, like what we're actually afraid of, you know?
Clowns.
So clowns. Yeah, but like also
being sawed in half.
Well, I think like I wrote this op-ed for the Daily Beast where I talked about this, where like Michael Myers, if you listen to John Carpenter talk about what he was trying to do with Michael Myers, he was a really big like civil rights advocate, and Michael Myers is supposed to be a metaphor for like senseless violence, so like violence against race, violence against the queer community, events against women, and so that's the metaphor. But like I think when you're watching those films, I don't know if you get that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So, like, and I don't know if Michael Myers, like, everyone keeps trying to give Michael Myers a backstory, and it never really, really works.
Yeah.
So I think, like, that's kind of, like, part of it is, like, it's what you internalize violence to be and why people, you know, are violent. I would think, like, based on, like, what I've seen in the films and, like, obviously there's the little girl, the new film, and then like you have Art's relationship with the homeless woman and like the coddling. There's definitely some childhood trauma there, as like clowns are a metaphor for. But what has happened to him? If he's a human, why he's as fucked up as he is, I could not tell you.
Okay, cool. I just was curious if you had like any
insight.
Damien
shares nothing to
that devil.
Actually,
love
when
him.
he does, we can't say anything anyway. So
that's fair. That's fair. Well,
all of what like he has planned down the line, I can tell you is going to be amazing. But like I can confirm or deny nothing.
I love
about
it.
What's
I love
going
it.
To happen.
Blink twice.
If this
happens. If you come back from the dead, that would be cool. You come back. They have like all the people who have died, but you come back and you're split in half.
I know we've talked about what like people have talked about that a lot. Again, I can confirm or deny nothing there. Although I do, you know, I wonder if in that scenario that people have proposed, if she's like full. It's not I Spit on Your Grave. What is the movie with Meryl Streep where she like
Death
becomes her. Yeah, full death becomes her,
Yes.
where she just slowly starts like, where she's just two parts, like,
and she just slowly comes out and like, put her back together.
And honestly, I look forward to the acting challenge of me like shimmying at everyone. Like, if in that hypothetical world that happens, I would really like to see some more like male genital mutilation.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel that there needs like #justice for Dawn. You know, I feel that I would really like to see, you know, some more penile mutilation. I feel penile. we have because I think that
was a good word.
I don't know if that's actually.
You know
a word.
what? It is.
It is now. You know what? Terrifier isn't a word, and look at that. It's terrified. Terrifier, not a thing, not a word. Now it is.
Someone to be okay.
Not like. I know. I was confused when I looked at the script. I was like, is this a typo? No, it's not a word.
Do they know how embarrassing?
Guys.
It's terrified. You come back on the first day, you like have notes. You're like, I have some notes really quick. Is this terrified? It's supposed to be terrified?
Terrified. Not
and he's
a word.
like, no. And you're just like,
okay.
Okay. So happy to be here. Yay. Okay.
Can't wait. Really excited.
Be sawed in half.
Be sawed in half. Sounds
awesome.
like fun.
It's gonna be great.
Really,
it's gonna be super fun.
It was that day was I've talked about it a lot. We've all have. It was like we filmed that in a condemned hospital in Staten Island. It happened to be one of the coldest nights of the year, so it was like below 20 degrees.
Awesome.
There was no heat. There was no running water. And we had no rig, so I was actually hung upside down by my ankles.
No.
Because
low
why?
budget.
Because movie magic. No,
movie magic. You weren't actually upside down. You were a seat. You were green screened.
No,
I know you were upside down. I know you were upside down.
Upon reflection, like I have had people ask me questions like that work in film that are like, why did they put you actually upside down? And like they didn't have a rig or anything, and I was like, yeah, I don't know why. And Lloyd, who does trauma movies, he's like, we would have just hairsprayed your hair straight up and put you on a green screen. And then I thought about it, and I was like, you're right. Why didn't we do that?
It might have been easier, maybe a little harder. I don't know.
I don't know.
And now 5 years later, she's sitting with a knee brace.
She's sitting with a knee brace.
I am here with a knee brace. And it's not from a Terrifier-related injury, though. From another stupid things that I do in my spare time. I said box, but not Terrifier.
You said I can no longer confirm or deny that this is not.
I cannot confirm or deny that this is from Terrifier. So, years later. No, I did actually, this is true. I did have to have a minor procedure afterwards to move my eardrum back to where it was supposed to be. Jesus. That's actually true. After we filmed that, because there's a amount of time. I actually was just listening to another actress who had to do something similar, and this is what you should do, and I guess I didn't, and we didn't have a stunt safety person to tell me how to prep for this. But so if you do headstands, yoga, or whatever, you work your way up to being upside down for a certain period of time so your body can withstand it. Yeah. But I didn't know to do that, and I don't think any of us did. And so you actually, if you don't do that, the time threshold for someone who's not used to it to being upside down like that is 42 seconds. Good, and then you start to risk seizure. Oh, good. So
I'm glad I do that all the time, just randomly. Just go upside down. Awesome. Cool.
But you actually would probably have a little bit of a tolerance. You could probably go longer. I forget, this actress was saying she worked herself up to 2 minutes to she could do 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
Interval, but she trained herself how to do that. And when you're doing yoga, people they figure out headstands, they figure out how to do that. But I didn't have that. So the compromise we came up to when I remember bringing this up was okay, we're gonna have a timer and we're gonna lower her down. And then we're going to go for as long as the timer will let us. And then we're going to lift her back up onto the platform. I was my legs could never come out of the shackles all night. So I was on a platform on my back with my legs in the air. And so they would yell action, they'd remove the platform, I'd roll down, and then they'd go for as long as they could, and then lift me back up and put me on. And this went on all night in below freezing temperatures. And towards the end of it, I started to get nauseous, and I couldn't figure out why. So eventually they took me down, and there's one close up where you just see my face, and I'm hanging off a table for that. But this was the only thing we shot that night, so it was hours. It was a full 10 to 12 hour night. And so when I got home the next day, I was really, really sick, and I was really dizzy, and I couldn't figure out why. So I went to the doctor, this guy, Dr. Dave, who is a real doctor who drives a Harley and smokes cigars, and it's hilarious. And so I go, and he I tell him what happened. He goes, well, you have strep, and that I anticipated. He's but the dizziness, and what? He's tell me what happened again. So tell him.
So I'm filming this movie called Terrifier. They say Terrifier, but it's really Terrifier.
I know. And he was I figured, he was do you swim? And I was no. And so he goes, okay, so yes, 42 seconds, good threshold for seizure. But for that to work, the way gravity works, you have to come back up again. And you never did that. You just laid on your back and kept going down. So blood is just rushing to your head. And then you're just staying on your back. And then more blood is rushing to your head. And when you're on your back, the blood that's already rushed to your head is just pooling in your body. Because it can't. Because the way gravity works, you have to go right side up again. Yeah. So I was experiencing cranial swelling.
Oh, good.
Slowly. And he was you were pretty close to probably having a seizure. That was probably what the nausea was.
Oh, good.
But you didn't. That's good. Good job there.
Okay.
Dumbass. Now your eardrum is not where it's supposed to be, because the swelling has come down and your eardrum has moved during the process, and you have an infection in your body, and it's not where it's supposed to be. So I, long story, I had to take antibiotics, and they had to do a minor medical procedure to move it back.
Oh my God.
I still wonder if when I can't hear something, I'm every once in a while, have I always been this way, or is this because I'm an idiot?
Yeah, but you know what? Down the road, you'll be going on one of those horror documentaries where people will be this happened on Poltergeist, this happened on The Exorcist, this happened on Terrifier.
I mean, in an ideal world, that would be great if these films, but you don't know. Now, it's really exciting. It would be really cool if, at some time, this becomes, a big franchise thing that everybody talks about. Yeah. But, right now, I'm just riding the vagina interview wave, you know?
And we love that. Honestly, ride that wave. Ride that beautiful, beautiful wave.
Brought me here.
we're so happy to have you here. You're a delight. You're so fun to talk to, and we could talk for hours, but we can't do that.
But we can't.
We can't.
There's a time limit.
There's a time limit. They're gonna kick us out. John is gonna. I don't know what he's gonna do. He's gonna yell.
He's gonna yell.
He's turning into Art the Clown right now, which is my nightmare.
That was the actual jump scare we've all been waiting for.
Is John? Is just producer John coming out?
That's actually the business model. We're gonna start putting him in the theaters.
Oh God.
Two different podcast episodes.
Two different podcast episodes. It's gonna be great. Oh my God. Well, thank you so much for being here. Where can the people find you?
Catherine Corcoran on the socials. Insta Catherine C with a C on Instagram. And yeah, CatherineCorcoran.info.
Amazing. You're a delight.
Thanks.
Of course.
You're a delight.
Oh, thank you.
You're a delight.
Oh, stop. Keep going. No. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to watch Terrifier, Terrifier 2, Terrifier 3 coming out.
No, we're skipping it. We're going right
to 4D.
We're going right to 4D.
We're going right to 5D.
5D.
Terrifier 5D. But guys, make sure to like, subscribe on all the things. You know the drill. And we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.